Hey everybody, this week on the A-List Submission Podcast, we talk about freaky tales.
And sinners.
And that's something to sink your teeth into.
Yeah, and in the second half, we talk about all things vampire.
And that is just the beginning. Hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to a new episode of the A-List Submission.
Yes, how have you been? Even though I love you.
I've been fine. Happy Easter, everyone. This is last episode we mentioned that we would be recording it on the Easter weekend.
It is currently Good Friday.
Yes, so happy Easter, or happy to everyone who celebrated Easter and everything.
And if you had egg hunts or like chocolate bunnies or anything like that as well, or if you had Easter plays, hope you had fun with all that.
Or at the very least, you enjoyed an extra day off of work, if your work offers that. If you work at retail food service, I am so sorry.
Yeah, but that's time and a half, or
Well, yeah, maybe you get to enjoy the extra pay.
Yeah. Cool. So first things first, my voice is kind of fading. I just got off of a bacterial infection type of sickness. So yeah, I was on some meds. They finished. My work does involve a lot of talking though, so I feel a lot better. Just my voice and throat don't sound the best. So if you like husky me, stay tuned for this episode.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's okay. We're gonna see how long this is. If it ends up being a little bit shorter, that's okay. It helps me out, but it also saves her voice a little bit more. And then because we're Canadian, and we should mention this also, this was not planned, but it just popped in my head. If you're Canadian, guys, vote. This is your chance to vote.
The voting is open. Advanced polling is out in most, at least in our province, for most cities. Anybody that lives in Canada, the final election voting day is the 28th, which is the Monday following this release. Please vote, whether you vote for Liberal or Conservative. The biggest problem that we had, at least in Ontario, with the provincial election that happened recently was that no one voted. So if you're at home and you're like, hey, I have some free time, vote. Might as well. It's in your rights. So.
Right, and then also, hey, it affects you because this is the whole country, right?
Yep.
So, anyway.
Get that out of the way.
Cool. Yeah. But hey, we might as well. Big shout out to Cinephiles Movies because they've been sharing our Instagram stuff.
Yeah,
crazy.
On Instagram, it's Cinephiles Movies. I usually am the one who takes the photos of the posters outside the theater or anything related to while we're at the theater, and I always make sure to tag Cineplex Movies. And they like to reshare it. Sometimes they'll even add a little caption back.
Yep.
It's really cute. So yeah, we appreciate it. At least we're getting some notice from our big favorite Jane and our second home.
Yeah, truly our second home. We're there. If it's not work, if it's not home, it's there. That's the thing.
But yeah, while we're talking about Cineplex, to kind of tie into it, on Tuesday, April 22nd and Tuesday, April 29th, both general admission tickets and small popcorns at Cineplex theaters will be $5 each. And it also works. It's not like one of those old movie screenings. It's general admission on any movies in that theater that's near you. Of course, the online booking fee will still be a thing if you don't have Cine Club, which you should, because it is a really good deal.
You get $10 a month, 20% off concessions, 20% off merch.
Yeah, and Scene members still get 10% off on Tuesdays on top of this, which is great. Of course, this is for basic general admission, so it's not IMAX or AVX, D-Box, that kind of thing. We're not sponsored to say this. We're just wanting you guys to know because we release our podcast early Tuesday morning so that anyone who's interested to go on a cheap night like April 22nd or April 29th can see these movies.
But also because we want people to go to the theater, right? The more people that go to the theater, the better the movie industry gets.
Yeah, 100%.
We get better movies.
Yeah,
right?
But again, not sponsored. Unless they want to, Cineplex, hit us up. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in case anyone's interested, because that's a really, really good deal, especially for movies right now, because sometimes they can be an arm and a leg.
No kidding.
But speaking of movies, we did have one more update. Yeah,
I was going to say, our TikTok of last week that released, I think I want to say Friday. Oh no, it would be the one on Sunday. Talked about Quentin Tarantino's 10th film. So, yeah, as I said last week, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is getting a sequel, and it's not directed by him. It's directed by David Fincher. He's writing it, but I said, "Oh, will this have an effect on his 10th, 11th film, or is he going to do a 10th or 11th film?" So I got told by Cheyenne, because she did some research as well, that he considers Kill Bill Part 1 and Part 2 as one movie.
Yeah, I don't know if he filmed it as one shot.
I don't know, but they released it too.
He considers it one.
So he technically is on his 9th movie right now.
Yeah, technically. And the one that, I don't know if we talked about it at all in that episode. No, we didn't. He has one called The Movie Critic, and that was supposed to be his last one. I think this year, potentially, or next year being released, and they scrapped it. I don't know the specifics, but they've scrapped it.
Oh, okay. So he still has, by his standards, his 10th film to be released. To me, generally, this will be his 11th film, because Kill Bill Part 1 and Part 2, to me, is just the first movie and a sequel to the first movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Which it is, but in his brain it works, so that he has not done 10 yet.
I mean, hey, so we'll see what his 11th directorial movie, his 10th story it will be.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, and then last thing we also want to do an update on is, you may notice from last week, because we did shift the decor down to make it a little more face level, or eye level, sorry, but a couple of them fell off the wall.
Yeah, we shifted it so far down that it hit the floor.
Yeah, so we used command strips to hang these up, and they just didn't stick on a couple of them. So one of the frames broke, so we're just going to get a new frame for that, and the other one we just need more command strips. So there'll be a couple things missing, but we do actually plan on adding a few more little fun things.
Yeah, maybe this will be a good like shot in the arm to kind of go, oh, let's get more shit up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it may look a little sparse currently, but yeah. So that is why that is. And do you want to talk about movies now? Yeah,
let's do it. So before we get into the one we watched this week,
because there's only one that came out.
That's really the only one we watched came out. We watched Freaky Tales, not this past week, the week prior.
And we completely forgot.
I mean,
it's a
spoiler, we didn't like it. So it was part of the reason why we forgot about it. But yeah, it came out the same week as the other 4 movies.
Yeah, because we had watched a total of 4 movies, 3 in the theaters, but
4 in the theaters, and then we watched Forrest Gump.
Was it?
Yeah. So, all right, just a recap from last week.
I've seen too many
so
movies.
We watched Forrest Gump at home, and then we watched Warfare, we watched The Amateur, and then we watched Drop. The Sunday before those 3 movies came out, we watched Freaky Tales.
Oh, yes. I'm saying for that podcast episode, we had reviewed 3 and 1. Yeah. I'm saying, though, we had notes written down for all the movies we saw, but I guess in my brain, I only just wrote the word Freaky Tales, and I just didn't add the notes. So it just kind of went in the wayside. So we are going to update you on that now.
Yeah, so it's going to be a week or 2 removed, but hey, you know what? It's a movie that came out, so maybe you'd enjoy it. And then the main one that came out this week was
Sinners, which, we'll get into that.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely get into that one. All right, so Freaky Tales is a genre-blending anthology that came out in 2024. Directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, set in 1987 Oakland, California. The movie presents 4 interconnected stories, each highlighting different facets of the city's vibrant culture during that era. Cool. So we'll go quickly. I'm not going to go into... We have a bunch of notes written for this, and I don't want to spoil anything. So we'll do the first story. It's called Strength in Numbers, The Gilman Strikes Back. Basically, just to quickly summarize, you got a teenage woman. Her name is Tina, played by Ji Young Yo, and a gentleman named Lucid, played by Jack Champion. They are 2 punk rock people, or teens, that are living their life. They go to a club, and then they have a bunch of neo-Nazis that are bothering them, and it's their confrontation. And then you got Don't Fight the Feeling, which is 2 rappers, the first one being Barbie, the second one named Entice, known as Danger Zone. I don't have the names yet, but we'll get to them. Basically, they do a rap battle. Just that's very bland. Born to Mac, Clint, which is Pedro Pascal. He is a reformed hitman, but he has a situation happen with him and his wife. And then The Legend of Sleepy Floyd, which is an NBA star Sleepy Floyd's family, and an attack that happens with them. Cool. That's all very surface level. Don't want to go into too much because the more I say about it, it's going to spoil it.
Yeah.
Cool. So now we're going into our cast, which, like I said, is Pedro Pascal plays as Clint. You got Ji Young Yu and Jack Champion in the first one. And then you also have Entice is played by, we got Normani. And then the other one, Barbie, is played by Dominique Thorne. You got Ben Mendelsohn and you got Jay Ellis, the two main people. Sleepy Floyd is by Jay Ellis. And then you also have, I'm pretty sure this is the last time you see him on camera, not 100% sure, but Angus Cloud, who passed away last year.
And also, you missed the last one. Too Short, the rapper's in it.
Oh.
He makes a cameo in, I think, the first or second.
Probably
I think
the second one.
But he was the narrator and the executive producer of the film.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. But, yeah, so that's kind of our Freaky Tales quick summary. In all, my opinion is that it started off pretty good, and then it got way boring way fast.
Yeah, it's very boring. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, like I think the story with the teenagers was interesting because obviously it's a little bit of a love story kind of thing, but it was interesting enough to keep the story going, but I also wanted more. And then the second one story got a little bit more boring. The third story got even more boring. And then, honestly, by the time Sleepy Floyd came in and kind of wrapped up all four stories, I was just already out.
Yeah, no, like, I love Pedro Pascal. Like, his story, I've seen in, like, other action movies and stuff, too.
Yeah.
That storyline, but, yeah, it just was not good.
I just think, yeah, like we've said, a lot of other movies, I've seen something like this done before, done way better.
Yeah, fair.
Right? Like, the four little anthology stories that wrap up into one. I think I've seen that. I can't think of a movie right now that says that, but it just feels boring, dated. I get that it was a period piece, and so like a 1980s kind of genre piece, but like, I don't know. I like the genre. I like the aesthetic of it all, but for story and acting ability, the acting was good. The story was boring as hell.
Yeah, it really was. I know we said flop, but if I had to give it a rating, a 4.
Ooh, you gave it a higher rating than I was.
Okay, 3. I literally could throw a dice. Anything under 5, it sucked.
Yeah, I was gonna go with. I'll go with 3 with you because 3 is pretty good. Yeah, it's not good. I would say even a 2. Like it's. I'll stick with 3.
Okay.
If I'll stick
3. With 3 then.
Because the acting was really good and I like the aesthetic of things, but everything else about it was bad.
Yeah.
I'll say 3.
Unfortunately too, because they had some like good people, like good actors and stuff.
I mean, Ben Mendelsohn does a really good job.
Pedro obviously does.
Right.
The rappers do great. So
yeah, they do a really good job rapping. The teenage kids I thought was very believable and very endearing, and obviously I think Jay Ellis I've seen before and he's been really good in the past. It's just this story just sucked, truly.
Well, critics agree actually.
Yeah, so critics have mixed reviews. Some praise it for its style and nostalgic homage to the 80s, like I said, Oakland culture. But in terms of the negative, there is no cohesion, and it relies too much on the stylized violence and surreal elements. Yeah, and so kind of like we said, there's some things we really like about it, like the aesthetic and the energetic part of it, but it's just, again, very boring, very no cohesion. Yeah.
Not great.
Cool. All right, so now we'll go to the second movie of this episode.
And again, if you're watching the video version of this, you might see us looking down more often. It's just because we're reading some notes that we already have about these movies. So.
Yeah, it just makes it easier for us to keep everything organized.
Yeah,
otherwise, we'll be stumbling through this.
I usually can get by just like glances quick. So, but yeah. Okay, so the one and only theatrical movie we saw this week was Sinners. Like we said, it's a supernatural horror film directed by Ryan Coogler. Sorry, my voice is fading a little here and there. Main guy is Michael B. Jordan. Again, playing a movie as twins. Like, we literally just saw The Alto Nights.
Oh, yeah.
With one actor playing 2. So it happened again. So yeah, he plays two twin brothers. Obviously, it's 2. But yeah, he plays twin brothers, and their nicknames are Smoke and Stack, which I think is pretty fun. Smokestack. Yeah, So it's set in 1932 Clarksdale, Mississippi, where Michael B. Jordan essentially is playing these two World War I vets, and they turned Chicago gangsters, and yeah, they want to open a juke joint back home. They decide to leave Chicago, come back to Mississippi. They meet up with their cousin, and things take a weird turn when... Should I say it?
I mean, it's our second half.
Yeah, true. Okay, so there's vampires in it.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the trailers, it's pretty obvious that it's
So
vampires.
not necessarily what, like, the very first time I saw any trailer for this, I didn't think it was. And then I had read something about, like, is Sinners about vampires? And it's like all over the thing. But if you watch the trailer again, you will know it's about vampires. So anyway, 1930s style vampires. All takes place on their opening night of their juke joint that I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Yeah. It talks a lot about racial oppression, cultural appropriation, and the resilience of black artistry, using the vampire mythos as a metaphor for historical exploitation.
Oh, cool.
Which I thought was cool, yeah.
Yeah, I would have never thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so aside from Michael B. Jordan, it also features Haley Steinfeld, introducing Miles Catton,
Yep.
Wunmi Musako,
Yep.
Jack O'Connell, and Delroy Lindo. So yeah, the music in this one was actually by Ludwig Göransson, which if you know him from anything, he's been in like...
Oppenheimer is the main one, but I mean, if you're a Star Wars nut like me and Cheyenne are, The Mandalorian as well.
The Book of Boba Fett, Tenet, Turning Red.
The list goes
a lot.
I think Creed is also on that list.
Possibly, who knows. But yeah, those are like the main cast and
main talking points. But yeah, the honestly, truthfully, we love this movie.
Talk for yourself, man. I can talk about my take.
I love this movie.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought
what did you love about it?
I thought you wanted to say it. Fine. So for me, it was one of those movies where, truthfully, after we saw the first trailer, I was turned off completely from this movie. I was like, oh, this movie's gonna suck. Like, I didn't think it was gonna be good. I thought it was gonna be very boring. But that's why we don't watch trailers, or we don't care about trailers, right? The movie was really good. I think it was acted beautifully. The singing was also amazing. The twist, even though like obviously you know what the twist is ahead of time, it's still very poignant, and it's very it does a great job at, even though you know what the twist is, to keep you on your feet, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't sense the direction it's going to take. I think it does a really good job at, even though you've seen vampires in the past, it feels so fresh in this movie. And then the biggest thing from this movie that I would take away is, even though they're like, one of the things that we talked about right after we watched it was, this movie feels a little bit long at the beginning, just in the in the explaining parts, but the more you think about this movie, the better it gets. I'll keep it like that because I feel like I'm taking a lot of what Cheyenne's going to say too.
So yeah, actually, I had quite a lot to say about this. You probably did eat up a good chunk of it, but I feel like I would have more to say anyway because it's a vampire movie. So I've mentioned in the past, I really love vampire movies. So to be honest, when I had the opposite reaction to you when I saw the trailer, I loved the trailer, but then once I found out it was vampires, I was like, oh, I'm actually so out, because if I want to see a vampire movie, I want to kind of know it's a vampire movie. This one, I was like really hoping it would be something else that was supernatural about it. But I'm like, okay, whatever. Now I know it's a vampire. It did kind of spoil one thing in the trailer, which I didn't like about a character, but I really liked this movie. So it's funny, we were talking about it, like Ricky said. First thing I thought was, holy cow, so it's 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Yeah.
And the stuff that starts to happen, there's a good hour of just exposition that happens, maybe even a little more, to get to any point where like, oh, shit hits the fan. And I was like, oh, this is irritating. But by the end of the movie, when we left the theater, I told Ricky, I'm like, it's almost like I needed it to percolate. Well, we left for me to be like, all of that exposition makes sense. I know why they did it. I know how, I get it. because normally exposition, I'm like, oh man, this is so fucking boring. I do not want to deal with all of this exposition. But this one, I'm like, okay, at the time I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to deal with all this exposition. But at the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, I understand why they needed to do what they did and how long it took to get to where they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, yeah, I needed to almost let it simmer a bit to be like, oh, this was actually way better than I realized. Like you said as well, the music was fantastic. Miles Catton, his voice is gorgeous. It is so deep, bluesy, deep singer. Like,
yeah, a lot of the music in this was blues music, but it was gorgeous blues music.
And I don't know if Ludwig wrote that, but
I don't know how much he did, but like, man, it was just really good.
Gorgeously done. The settings are great. The costumes are great.
Yeah,
like, makeup was very good.
Beautiful.
Because you have to remember they are vampires. They weren't glittery ones, which is fine with me. That's a plus. That is fine with me. I'm trying to think what else there was about it. I think it was mostly that the exposition was actually great. It made up for a really great story. Also, at the time of its release, it was sitting at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's now 98, but when I left the theater, I'm like, oh, maybe like a 90. Or no, when I was watching the movie, I'm like, huh? Maybe like, I don't know, 92, 93% Rotten Tomatoes would make sense. But by the time we left, I was like, I 100% understand why it got 100%.
Yeah, it was one of those movies that, to kind of elaborate off of the, like, let it percolate thing, like, it truly is one of those movies where, as the movie goes on, you're like, yeah, that was a lot of talking. Ooh, the action's good. Ooh, the ending. Ooh. And then you're kind of, you finish the movie, you walk out, you think, you literally give yourself another 5 minutes and you go, man, that was such a fulfilling experience. And stay,
like, while the beginning credits are happening. So there's no mid-credit or end credit, but there's, like,
slices of it.
Like, a little bit mini credit, like, when the first beginning credits, and it's so hella satisfying, at least for me.
Yeah, I would say, like, before they list the cast in
order of appearance, yeah.
Yeah, once you see that cast in order of appearance, you're good to go, but it's everything before that.
Stay.
Really nice touches of more exposition, but like really good. Hey man, it sets that universe up really well.
The only thing I'll say is one trope, I guess, that is like not irritating, but like, of course, vampire movies are notorious for sex scenes. Like, doesn't matter what it is, like, it's always sex of some kind. There's sex crazed maniacs, I guess, and this was no exception. There is quite a lot of like scenes in that way, but you have to go in knowing it is a horror film. So if you're not one for queasiness and stuff, or blood, because vampires do love their blood, so do not go if you're like faint at the sight of blood.
Yeah, in terms of horror, I wouldn't say this was like freaky, but it wasn't
scary.
But like it is a very worthwhile horror movie.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good.
It's truly the opposite of Freaky Tales.
It's very funny because I was not expecting it to be as good as I thought. Like, I was hoping it would be good, and midway through, I'm like, this is not that good, and then, let it sit and think about the exposition and stuff, and you'll get it. And Michael B. Jordan, amazing as the twins. He did such a good job of making them twins, but
so different.
Even in their like cadence, the hair they did different, like just little things that each made them have their own idiosyncrasies. They definitely did a good job. And Haley Steinfeld's great. I really like her. Just don't see her in a lot anymore.
Well, I mean, she has her singing career.
Well, she's married now too.
No, she's engaged to Josh Allen. Football fans, you know. But one thing Cheyenne told me after we watched this movie that I actually think is a perfect highlight to this is that Michael B. Jordan plays he plays two roles of a lifetime.
So it was a quote I read somewhere on a news article or something. It was I think it was NPR or the New York Times. It was one of those two. Where someone said this movie gave Michael B. Jordan the two roles of a lifetime, which I was like, it's so true. Whereas Robert De Niro in the Alto Nights, like, he
plays the same character twice. That's the difference, and neither one are defining in Alto Nights.
Yeah, and Michael B. Jordan, two roles of a lifetime, and I 100% agree with that statement. I thought that was a beautiful statement because it's so true. Just everything about it. So we'll get to our ratings because I want yours first.
One quick thing. I think this movie, in terms of Michael B. Jordan, like if Michael B. Jordan is known for any movie, and I know he's probably going to be known for Black Panther and Creed.
Which Ryan Coogler did direct Black Panther.
And Creed.
And Creed.
I would argue this is probably his best performance.
Michael?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really seen him in much else other than those ones.
I for me personally, after I've seen him in a couple movies, this might be his best movie. Just saying.
Wow.
Anyway, my rating first, you said? This is a 9.
Because I was going to actually say a slight bit lower, even though right now it's sitting in my top 5 this year.
Yeah, it's sitting in my top 5 too.
So
and that's saying something because I'm not a horror guy.
I'm actually still going to go with my original, which was 8.5.
Yeah,
it's pretty dang close to a 9. Who knows? I may up it by the end of the year. But I'm still sitting with Better Man as my number 1. But this is definitely in my top 5, 100% currently in my top 5. So I'll give it 8.5.
If we mention the movies that I would say is in our top, like right now for my top 4 in no order, truly no order, because I don't have no order.
I don't even remember.
Better Man, Novocaine, Mickey 17 in this movie. Those are my top 4 movies of the year so far, in no order.
I like A Complete Unknown as well.
Last year.
Oh, technically, yeah.
We watched it this year, but technically it's a last year movie. That's why I'm not considering.
So is Freaky Tales.
Sure, but so was a lot of movies. But okay, so for me personally, if we're going by movies that had a theatrical release this year, those are my 4. Better Man, Novocaine, Mickey 17, and
I'm going to go
Sinners.
for me so far, in no particular order, Sinners, Novocaine, Warfare, and not really Mickey 17, I don't think.
that's fine.
I'm gonna stick with just those 3. But Warfare is an excellent movie. I really like it.
So you're saying, sorry, Better Man.
Oh, I forgot Better Man. That was the one. Better Man, Sinners, Warfare, and Novocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are no particular order. Well, actually, Better Man's first. That's the order.
Right. For me, I really like Warfare. I'm not saying maybe Warfare is the round of like my 5 of the top 5 because
I don't think you like it.
No, it's not that whoa, that is not true.
Okay.
I really like that movie.
Oh, okay.
I actually, you know what, I forgot. So I do really like it. I just enjoyed Drop more last week than Warfare. But it doesn't mean, honestly, and I mean this seriously, it's not a shade to Warfare at all. Warfare is phenomenal. It is truly phenomenal. For me though, it's a movie where I like it, but I have to be in the mood for watching it again.
Drop gave me good surprises, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely not my top.
Well, this year for me, it's gonna be my 5.
You're kidding.
For this year, so far?
Nah. I actually have to. We have seen so many movies.
Yeah, I think we're in our 50s now.
Check our Letterboxd because we have updated it.
You've updated it?
Yep.
Dang, Cheyenne's more ahead of it than I am. Yeah,
Trying.
Yeah, but we will make sure it's continuing to get updated. But stay tuned, man. We're only in April, and there's so many more months left of watching movies this year.
And May's going to be a good one. Mission Impossible. When does Fantastic Four come out?
Oh, later. It's actually going to be it's going to be Thunderbolts first.
Is that in June or May?
May.
Okay, I knew there was 2 big ones, so those are at least 2.
But yeah, stay tuned, guys. We still got tons of movies to go.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the first half. So we just saw those 2 movies, gave you a little snippet on like some minor updates here and there.
Yeah.
So
cool.
we figured we can get into the second half,
which is all about
vampires. So I kind of took the reins, I guess, on this second half because
which is so funny that you can't talk.
Yeah, I know. Before I lost my voice, I had everything planned out. But I think I'm doing okay. It's just once in a while it like fades. I can't even sound mad. I'm like, how dare you?
Just a little squeak.
I kind of like my laughs when I've lost my voice. I don't know.
It's a little bit more raspy.
I don't know. I could be bluesy singer now.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So I figured we could talk about 3 vampire movies and just kind of see their differences and their similarities. Nothing too major, but don't forget I am an editor, so I do have big words. And if you don't know them, there is a dictionary online. Feel free to look up the definition.
Cool. So let's talk about some vampire movies.
three movies I figured we could cover. One being the obvious that we just saw, which is Sinners.
Without spoilers.
Yep. And then, without spoilers. The other two will include spoilers. One of them Ricky has not seen, I have seen. The other one we have both seen, but I had gotten him to watch it. The next one is Twilight, which, yes, as a whole. So we'll say the film series as a whole.
Because I'm going to forget in which order we...
Well, not even that. Which scene came from what movie.
That's what I mean.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Like, I'll remember the order of movie,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
like, I don't remember, like...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Whatever. We'll hear it. Anyway.
But yeah, anyway. So yeah, Twilight will be the second one. And third, I figured we could do The Invitation.
Which is the one I haven't seen.
So first off, Sinners came out in 2025. Twilight came out in 2008. And The Invitation came out in 2022. Twilight, for me, I had not seen any of them in theaters until I believe it was Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2. The rest I had seen afterward, and then I eventually read the books. Obsessed with the books. I think they're like, people obviously knock the movies because they are corny as shit. But
especially the first one.
Especially the first one, like if you know, you know.
Oh,
but,
it's so funny.
Like, yeah, like the
him trying to hold in from throwing up, to him the running scenes in the forest, to the glittery scene. Man, you name it, that movie is just full
it's
of
funny
crass,
for that,
like
but
crappy funny movie.
It's the books are incredibly well done and way different than the movies. Stephanie Meyer's done a great job. She's also ended up making some side stories, some novellas, which I've also read all of those. She also made a gender-bent version called Life and Death, where Edward is the human and then Bella is the vampire, but it's switched genders. So yeah, great author. Really like her stuff. Except for the host. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but that's a separate story. Anyway. Yeah, so essentially, these three movies, or I'm saying movies, again, Twilight is a series, I'm just clustering it as one. They all ask kind of similar questions. First, who has power? Who gets consumed? And what happens when someone dares to challenge the system? So, getting into more rhetoric style of things, I apologize if this is hopefully not boring. I thought it was really cool, but this is almost a nerd.
This is a deep dive on vampire movies.
I did ask ChatGPT to give me some notes and some pointers about these movies, and it actually helped me figure this out. So anyway, in Sinners, vampirism is a literal stand-in for cultural theft and systemic exploitation. Yeah,
that's the part where when Cheyenne read the synopsis earlier, that I actually had no idea about, truly.
Yeah, and this one's really interesting because the vampire named Remick, who's the main vampire who you see first, he's a white vampire. And I say that specifically because he tries to drain the vitality, both literally and artistically, of black musicians in this movie in Mississippi in the 1930s.
Which is actually kind of fascinating because it's the way that he targets certain people in the movie without spoiling anything. That you can tell that that's the goal that they were going for.
Yeah. So the horror is not just in, like the bloodsucking, but it's in the way the black talent is commodified. So it's about who benefits from the black culture and who gets left behind or erased. So that's essentially what it comes from with Sinners, right? So on the contrast, though, is Twilight.
Very big contrast.
So we're talking like shiny vampires, small town drama, like telenovela, abstinent romance. If you kind of dig a little deeper, you notice there's some like power imbalance at play. You have to remember because Edward is hundreds of years old, as are majority of the vampires, but like hundreds of years old. He's emotionally controlling, he's rich, he's powerful, he knows how to get to what he wants. And Bella's just a teenager, like trying to find herself
which
in
is a little weird.
High school, Again, a big theme of this series is submission. It's all this transformation, thank you, and giving up themselves for eternal love. So it's kind of like what Cheyenne said, like novella-y, right? Like it's very much like true love does this thing that, like, well, the vampirism affect true love? Is it going to put a wrench in between people? How does that play in the dynamic at large, kind of thing? Yeah. So whereas the first movie dealt with more of the racial side of vampirism,
kind of, yeah.
The second movie deals with the romantic side of vampirism, which, again, there's some romantic moments in Sinners, but not as much as Twilight.
The focus is less on the romance in Sinners
Exactly.
than it is on this movie.
Exactly. And then when it comes to The Invitation, it's a modern gothic horror story. Just like a woman, again though, a working class woman of color. So she's lured into this like seductive aristocratic vampire family who apparently she's related to, but she doesn't know it at the time. But she doesn't realize at the same time that they're going to essentially use her to keep the dying bloodline going. And I know you don't really care about spoilers too much when I talk to you about movies. No. You should remember, like I said, he hasn't seen it, so he's hearing this now. But honestly, it doesn't change anything. I still think it's a good watch. But yeah, so this time the theming though is like literal blood and reproductive labor. So like they need to keep that bloodline going, right?
Oh,
but
so the main woman being the black woman being the person they need to invest in or like to carry on,
sacrifice, quote unquote.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
To like, but sacrifice as in like they need to like I think turn her into a vampire
in order for her to continuously.
Sure. Yeah. But so the main girl's name is Evie, and she's the actress from Game of Thrones. But her name in this movie is Evie. So unlike Bella, though, she fights back. And, like, she goes ham. She, like, flips the script on traditional vampire love stories. Because this one is still a good chunk love story. Very much so. Yeah. And, like, the guy who plays the main vampire, I can't remember his name. He's very handsome and very demure and, like, just very... Like, you can see why she starts to like him, but at first she has her apprehension to him.
I will say, if for anybody who watches the video of this podcast, anything that we miss or like trying to like, oh, I don't know what the guy's name is, it'll be on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So essentially, what is the thread that kind of ties everything together? So like I said, vampirism is used to explore power, but there's different types of power. So with Sinners, it's cultural power. Twilight, it's romantic power, but then the Invitation is essentially generational power or class-based power. You can really see that. It's kind of closer to Nosferatu, where it's kind of class-based, I find anyway.
So, sorry, I didn't interrupt you, but like in terms of like class-based power, I feel like Nosferatu is class-based power, but it doesn't feel that way, whereas like your classic Dracula movie is more based on just that mysticism of creepy. This feels way more class-based, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of these movies each do feature a protagonist who's either seduced by or exploited by a vampire system. But some of them only choose to assimilate while others just burn it all down. So it's funny because Sinners does both. Some assimilate, some burn it down.
Yeah.
You know, so I obviously not going to say who, but I'm like, not even literally, but like figuratively. Yeah. You know, some people survive, some people don't. In The Invitation, for her, she makes it known that I am not doing this shit that they want me to do. She makes sure to get out of it. And the way she kills off the vampires in her family is wicked cool. So, to be honest with the vampire, I really liked it, actually, until I found out they were vampires. And I was just like, oh, this is so traditional, whatever. But overall, I really did like it. It's still a really good movie.
The Invitation, you mean?
Yeah. Twilight, I obviously love those movies. But yeah, he had never seen them before we started dating, so I had randomly showed him. And then, like, you finished the first one, and you're like, I kind of want to watch the next one, because it's just so bad.
So, yeah, I was going to say,
yeah,
it's, with Twilight, in the series of Twilight, it's one of the funniest series because for me, the better the production gets and the more serious the actors take it and the true like focus of that movie or that series gets more sharp or sharper, whatever, the worse they get. Like the first movie is so bad, but it is so enjoyable to watch because of how bad it is. And the second one is a little bit better, or
second one is Jacob Black. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. That for me, they're really interesting stories but it's just told poorly in the first one, and then as the story gets better, the movie just lacks something from it. That's just my opinion on it. But
no, I get it.
But yeah, Twilight is an interesting take in the vampire series, just because like vampires in general, like you either get kind of like what Cheyenne says, this is like almost this admiration for them and like this all eternal love, like I need to give you my love for this, or it's the exact opposite where you run and hide away and try to avoid, right? Like even Nosferatu does that very well, where it's like, oh, I want to avoid, I don't want to deal with it, and at the end she just fully submits.
Yeah.
Right? And so it does both, but like it's the Nosferatu fully submits in an active sacrifice to kill this thing.
Yeah.
Instead of, I love you. Whereas Twilight is very much like, I want to be with you for the rest of my life.
Yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of all of that. So that's a little bit talking about vampires.
Yeah.
So yeah, who do you find was the most empowered character across these three?
The most empowered character? Ooh, interesting. So I haven't seen Invitation, but based on what you've explained in that movie, plus what I know from Sinners, because I would say the most empowered character is not anybody in the Twilight series. Because, I mean, once you go into the Twilight series, Bella gets more emboldened and more confident, and sure, then she becomes more empowered.
It's just cut Twilight out, yeah.
It's just the other two people either really care and like really want to fix it, or want to die, like want to run away.
So, for me, the answer is Evie. In
I was going to say,
Invitation.
like, the Invitation one seems like more of like a blood curling. I need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, 100%. So she's definitely that one. Which version of vampirism feels the most terrifying, and why? The generational, the romantic, the cultural.
So it's interesting because when I think of the word terrifying, has so many connotations to it. Because when I think of like your natural terrifying fear, that kind of scariness, I would say the class powered one, right? Or like the
So I
Invitation.
kind of think the cultural one, because when you involve race in something that's already terrifying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In your most like standard way of thinking, oh, what is like your like primal fear? Like what is going to scare you just from scare, right? But when you think of like implementation to the real world and like how
Then
fear
yeah,
isn't
generational or class based for sure. But if I was of a different race, I would say cultural.
No. So I would say Sinners also in this situation. Which one is the scariest of the three? I'm just saying.
Not movie wise. I'm talking about the styles of vampirism.
Right, but like so, what I mean in particular, right, is like if we take this to like even Paranormal Activity, where it's like supposed to be scare for scare based fear, I would say that The Invitation does that the best. But
you'll have to watch it.
Yeah, fair. Based on what you've explained to me. But in terms of like how I would feel the more scariest, scared, I would agree with you. The Sinners type of horror is scarier.
Yeah. Okay, so then what do these films say about consent, choice, and identity?
You go for it.
Well, no, it's interesting because Twilight, Bella essentially loses her identity because she loves Edward so much. She wants to be with him forever, become a Cullen, all that. Whereas Evie's the exact opposite. She does not want to lose her identity under any cost.
Well, same with Sinners, right? Like the cost, in Sinners, right? Being who you are is what causes this.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah.
And then, but even in Twilight, like the more she goes on, the more she gains her identity.
As Cullen, though, yeah.
Yeah. She loses it to gain it back.
Yeah. I felt like the identity of a lot of people in Sinners kind of went to the wayside. I can't really say why for that movie. But
I there's an argument to this, but I can't say why without spoiling.
Okay, perfect. So that's fine.
So,
consent-wise, consent was in The Invitation. The film says that women can fucking do whatever they want. She held her own. Like, he was trying to be flirty and all this stuff, and at the beginning she was not having it because he was an asshole to her when she first got to his house, or his stately home. And she was not having it. And the more he talked to her and apologized and they got to know each other, it turned out better. Whereas consent with Bella and Edward, he just watches her through her window.
but her consent is what leads to that, right? Like she wants this. And she likes him. She is intrigued by him.
Sure, but I think the consent's not as strong.
I agree with you, but I do think the moment she does consent to it, he also does pull back a lot, right? Like he does go, oh, I don't want you to deal with this, but I'm obsessed with you.
Anyway, consent with sinners, I feel like there is at least one partial couple that consent kind of, it happens, but like under unfortunate circumstances. I can't say anymore. I'll explain to Ricky after.
In terms of the vampire thing, no one consents to that.
No, it's just saying what do they say about consent as a whole.
Oh, in general. Oh, okay. Then it's a mixed bag. Definitely in Sinners.
Yeah, there's one particular partial couple I'm talking about.
Honestly, guys, the best thing we can tell you is watch Sinners, because there's a lot of really deeply rooted conversations that you can have with this that is very fun to watch.
Sure, but also I suggest still watching Twilight for what it is. It's still a good series. And then watch The Invitation. It's a very, very good movie.
No, but I'm saying watch Sinners because so that way you can understand this conversation of vampires.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, then we can do spoilers.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, that kind of sums up that little second half.
Yeah, and Cheyenne actually put that together. Truthfully, I had not looked into the vampire stuff. Cheyenne was like, can I do the vampire stuff? I'm like, yeah, go for it. And so then she put all this together. I saw the notes. I know she said that ChatGPT helped guide her, but man, I think this was really well written and really well said. So this is really
cool. Like words. Like I said, you don't know half these words. There is a dictionary.
Yeah, but this is kind of like a cool, this is deep dive into a genre.
Yeah, because I enjoy, when I enjoy something, I like to do my deep dives. So no, it was a lot of fun to do that, and makes me want to watch more vampire movies. I
mean, hopefully, guys, this only entices you more to really get out there and kind of put these kind of thoughts into all kinds of movies. This is very in depth. This is more than your casual viewing. But these are things to think about when it comes to movies, right? Because movies do inform the world at large, but also take from the world at large, right? The cultural thing, especially right now, is definitely something it takes in from the world at large. But I'll leave it at that. It's really cool. I think this is really well done. Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
All right, ready to wrap up?
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's do it. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching and listening and liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting that notification bell on any and all platforms. You can follow us at the A-List Admission.
Or the A-List Pod.
Or at the A-List Pod on Threads and Letterboxd. Everything else is at the A-List Admission, including YouTube, which we have full audio and video episodes on there, and Spotify, which we have both audio and video episodes.
And then also on, we got Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that stuff. And on YouTube, you can listen to the podcast audio only as well.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I know, but I mentioned a couple others. Well, YouTube does both video and audio solely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did mention that.
No. Continue.
And yeah, so you can follow us, like Ricky said too, on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts pretty much. And yeah, just remember everyone that these are just our opinions. Nothing is set in stone as well. They are open to change. We may end up upping or lowering a rating. But yeah, just because we have an opinion doesn't mean you can't. If you don't like our opinion, great. If you do like it, great. We just appreciate listening and watching and enjoying our spiel. If you didn't like vampires before, I hope you maybe appreciate them a little bit more after hearing all our banter about vampirism.
Oh, yeah. And then rate us 5 stars on Spotify, and then if you disagree with us, comment on the YouTube videos or Spotify or wherever you can leave a comment.
Yeah, and TikToks. We post reels. What is it? Twice a week?
3 times a week.
3 times a week we have reels, thanks to Ricky, our master editor.
I would not say a master by any means.
Master for us, because going into this we had no real
skill,
knowledge of editing at any degree, so I appreciate the hard work. But yeah, I think other than that, if we're all set, we will see you at the movies. Bye.